So I lie hidden from your presence, and I am a wanderer. I'm going to be a nomad. I'm going to wander around on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. You may have gone into the land of Nod, as your modern Bible version say, or the land of wandering, and he was afraid that someone would find him and kill him. Hang on. Christians always tell us that there's only 4 that were ever made. God only made 4. Adam, Eve, Cain and Abel. Cain kills Abel, so there's only 3. So those 3, because it doesn't say in the scriptures here that Adam and Eve yet got back together, did the one-on-one tango and had another child. It does not say that. Here. We haven't found it anywhere else as well. Except the silly Gnostic book that was written in the 15th century, proven to have been by top theologians like Barty Ehrman, etc. It was just basically answering a lot of people's questions. Where did Cain get his sister from? So they made it up at Adam and Eve, Lost Book of Adam and Eve, Part 2, or Book 2, where they were born, Cain and Abel had these females attached to their legs. Cain was totally smitten by the one on Abel's leg, so that's why he killed him, to possess it. Written in the 15th century, it's called pseudepigraphy. Pseudepigrapher. They can date it when it was written, but they can't figure out who the writer was. They can't pinpoint. So they can near exact say, well, it was written in the 15th century. So they deem it pseudepigrapher. Not true. A false account. Pseudo. A pretend to be true when it's not. Assumed to be true when it's not. So he gets hidden from the presence of God daily. He's not in the midst of God anymore. He's been cut off. And then I'll be a wanderer and a nomad on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. And the Lord told him, it won't be so. It's not going to happen. And whoever kills Cain is going to pay 7 times 70 for that. And the Lord consecrated a sign. We put a holy sign upon Cain, a mark upon Cain, that anyone who finds him dare not kill him. They should not kill him. And Cain left the presence of the Lord, or God, and settled in the land of the nomads, east of Eden. And Cain took a wife. This means, it doesn't mean that he left Adam and Eve and he took one of his sisters and went there and married her. It doesn't mean that. In the Eastern mindset, it's like he took a wife. It's like he goes into another land, then he sees a woman, then he takes her as his. He owns her, yeah. He takes her away, makes her his wife. Yeah. He took her as his wife. He didn't take her from Adam and Eve because they never had any children. There's no indication that they had children in between God and Cain having a chat, and then Cain going into the land of wandering. So he goes into the land of the nomads, east of Eden, and then he takes a wife. He grabs himself a wife. And she becomes pregnant and gives birth to Enoch. And this may not be the Enoch of the Gnostic Gospels. And Cain started a village and called it after his son Enoch. And to Enoch was born Irad, and to Irad was born Mehujael, and Mehujael was born Methushael, and to Methushael was born Lamech. So maybe these names here are not translatable as Meth of El or God, if that word El is not the real name of God, when it's El, E-I-L. Because they went into the land of Canaan, took on the pagan religions, culture, language, etc. Then the descendants come out of there after being in there for so long, And through the millenniums, somewhere along the way, someone started calling the one true God, El, or Al, A-Y-L, pronounce it Al, or El, E-I-L, as El. Elohim, Elo this, Elo that, when they scripted it wrong. Somebody scripted it wrong. His true name is El, or Il, E-I-L. That's the true name of God, not El. If it was a Canaanite god, pagan god. Okay, so Tu-Sha'el had a son called Lamech, and Lamech took 2 women, so he had 2 wives. And the name of the first was Ada, and the name of the other one was Salah. And Ada gave birth to Jabal, and he was the father of those who lived in tents and herded cattle. And the name of his brother was Jubal, and he was, or Hubal, and he was the father of all those who took up the guitar and the horn. And Salah, she gave birth to Tubal-Cain, and Tubal-Cain's sister Naamah. And Lamech said to his woman, Ada and Salah, listen to my voice, woman of Lamech, or wives of Lamech, I've got something to tell you. Heed my sayings, listen to what I'm talking about. Okay? Take note. For I have killed a husband in my bigamy. Having 2 wives, right? Okay, he's killed a husband and a young boy in his lechery. Yeah? In his wickedness. So perhaps he's stolen Ada from another person. He killed him, right? And he took her. And then the other one promised to a younger man in his wickedness. Right? In his greed, in his need, his lust, okay, for her. If Cain is repaid in vengeance 7-fold, then Lamech, or himself, needs to be paid back 70 times 7. That's what he's stating. So he's the first bigamist. And it looks like he's taken 2 women by force to satiate his lust, perversions, desires. And Adam took his wife Eve again, so he's sleeping with her again, right? He's laying with her again, and she became pregnant and gave birth, and she called her, because she had a son, Seth, because God gave her another offspring in place of Abel, who was killed by Cain. No mention of any other child there. It's just specifically God gives her another son or offspring, descendant, to replace Abel, who was murdered by Cain. And to Seth, that was his name, Seth, or she, it's got down here in the footnotes, 425, literal Aramaic word, she, instead of or in place of. She called him Seth, because God gave her another offspring or descendant in place of Abel, who was killed by Cain. And to Seth also was born a son, so he had a son, descendant, and he called his name Enosh. Thereafter, they were called after the name of the Lord. Footnote, down the bottom here, 426, the beginning of the line of the children of the Lord. So this was a holy line. This is the line that Yeshua Mashiach, or Jesus the Messiah, Jesus the Christ, should have originally came through. But it was severed. So this Enosh becomes the heir, the head, the chief of the descendants to come, because Cain's no longer in the picture. Cain is elsewhere. So Cain has a son called Enoch. We're doubting that he's the Enoch of the Gnostic Gospels. Because if this is a holy line, Seth's descendants becomes a holy line, children of the name of the Lord, then possibly Cain's line, starting from Enoch, was not of God. Maybe, maybe not. It's not saying that it was, but maybe Cain repented, etc., followed God for the rest of his days, and he had this blessed son called Enoch. Maybe. So is that possibility? But it's not telling you there that's what went down. Okay, so to Seth also was born a son, and he called his name Enosh. Thereafter they were called after the name of the Lord. They were called after the name of the Lord. Children of the Lord. The beginning of the line of the children of God. It's a holy line. And here's the genealogy from Adam to Noah. Genesis 5, footnote below. This chapter follows in detail in the line of Seth. This is the scripture of Adam's birth in the eon, or the unfathomable, immeasurable period, no date for it, that God created Adam. In the likeness of God he created him. So this particular spiritual Adam, he created him in the likeness of God, from the earth, from the dirt. Okay? He had his Rita or Genesis 5 to 8. Genesis 5. Genesis 5, footnote. This chapter follows in detail the line of Seth, or the descendants of Seth. This is the scripture of Adam's birth. In the eon, unfathomable, immeasurable period, day with capital D, that God created Adam. In the likeness of God he created him. Male and female he created them. And God blessed them, and he called their name Adam. In the eon he created them. And Adam lived 130 years, and he produced offspring in his own image. And he called his name Seth. Okay, so he had Cain killed Abel, and Cain disappears into the land of wandering. And then he has another son called Seth. That's his offspring. That's his third son. And Adam's line after the birth of Seth lived 800 years. So his line of descendants, Adam's line of descendants, okay, from Adam's loins, lived 800 years. That's how long their lineage was. And to him were born many sons and daughters. And so Adam's entire lineage or line was 930 years altogether, and then it ended. It's not saying that he lived to 930 then died. That's silly. That defies logic, common sense, and reality. It's saying right here, Adam's line or lineage after the birth of Seth lived 800 years. Yeah? So he would have many, many, many more descendants. And to him were born many sons and daughters. To Seth. So Adam's entire line was 930 years altogether, and then it ended. Okay, so you don't know when he actually died, but he definitely didn't die at 903 or 930 years old. And it became no more, because Seth, the oldest son, he is the rightful heir, and then he becomes the leader, and it goes on and on like that. Once Adam dies, hand under the hip and all this sort of stuff, like Jacob, and then he's given his birthright. So he becomes the heir. He's the oldest, so he's the chief. So he's boss over all those others to come. And Seth lived 105 years, and to him was born Enosh. And that's believable. He lived to be 105, because the food was like organic, no pesticides, all that sort of stuff. So it would have been really, really healthy. And Seth's line lived after Enosh was born to him 807 years, and he brought 4 sons and daughters. And Seth's entire line was 912 years, then it ended. So it's not saying he died at 807 years old. And it goes on and on and on. And it goes all the way down to a man called Enoch. So this is a different man called Enoch. Okay, Cain had a son called Enoch, apparently. Okay, now this Seth, one of his descendants, had a son called Enoch. This Irad had a son called Enoch. And Enoch lived 65 years, and him was born Methuselah. His name down in the Aramaic here is 521. Literal Aramaic name Matushlah. And Enoch glorified God after the birth of Methuselah, and his offspring for 300 years did likewise. So they glorified God as well. They praised him, honoured him, like their father did. And he brought 4 sons and daughters, and Enoch's entire line was 365 years. That's how long the lineage was going for. And Enoch praised God for his duty, for which God had consecrated him. So that was, he praised God because that's what he had to do. That was his duty. Okay? Which God obviously had blessed him in many ways, had made him righteous, etc., to do that. Okay? And Methuselah lived 187 years, and to him was born Lamech. So this is, yeah, probably that. Yeah, this is kind of confusing because there's a Cain, Enoch. See, Cain here has a son called Enoch. And then here, Mahalalel Irad, has a son called Enosh. So maybe it's a translator error here. Maybe. We're not too sure. Because up here it says, and Irad's line lived after Enosh was born to him. It's Irad. Right? Yeah, it says here. And Irad lived 162 years until was born Enosh. And Irad's line lived after Enosh was born to him 800 years, and he brought 4 sons and daughters. And Irad's entire line was 962 years, then it ended. So his lineage ended after 962 years. And then this Enoch becomes the head of the family, and it's passed on probably to his son born to Methuselah, and carries on like that. So yeah, we believe it may be a slight error here by the translator, saying Enosh and Enoch. Not sure of that one. Because it doesn't say anything here about Enoch being taken up by God. So it probably is either this Enosh here is a mistake, it should be Enoch, or this Enoch here is a mistake. Well, give the guy a break. He's like probably about 70 or maybe 50 or something when he did this. So he might have been having some medical problems. I don't know when it actually happened. So yeah, it's just one of those things. He's not doing it deliberately. It just could be like that, or that's basically how it comes out. Not too sure on that one. But we do know that, yeah, okay, in chapter 4 it said Cain had a son called Enoch, and here it says this guy, Irad, had a son called Enoch. Up here it says Enosh. Yeah, so not sure on that. We've got to say it's a mistake here. probably. Yeah. And you're supposed to put Enoch, as he did down here, somewhere. Verse 25. Yeah, sometimes that happens. You type it and you put the wrong letter. It wasn't deliberate or anything like that. You can't really hold it against them and say, oh, see, it's all baloney because of that one small error. It's like the King James Version where supposedly the printer copied it and he put, I think it was in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt commit adultery. He lost his license and he lost his job and had a big hefty fine once they found out. It's just one of those things. He didn't do it on purpose, surely. It happens to the best of them. And it goes on, it gets down to Lamech, and then Noah. Lamech lived 182 years, and he had a son, and he called his name Noah, and said, this one will relieve our hearts from our toil and the work of our hands, and from the soil that the Lord cursed. And Lamech's line lived after Noah was born to him 595 years, and he brought forth sons and daughters. And Lamech's entire line, or lineage, was 777 years, 777, right? And then it ended. And Noah's line was 500 years, and to him were born Shem, Ham, this is silent, as in the Egyptian. It's not Cam, it's not Kim, it's Ham, or Hem, and Japheth, or Japheth. Genesis 6, Brita 6, Genesis 6. Footnote, Genesis 6, Urhai, the Hebrew version of the Epic of Gilgamesh. And while human beings began to multiply on the face of the earth, in that particular eastern area, etc., not Fiji, not Australia, not China, not Australia, but that eastern area, landmass, right? Daughters were born to them. While human beings began to multiply on the face of the earth, daughters were born to them. The sons of God, this holy line, saw that the daughters of men, the unrighteous, those who are not of God, a different line. 6.2, literal Aramaic expression, daughters of the human being. Just ordinary people. Not of God, not in the presence of God. Not connected to God spiritually. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and so they picked for themselves women whomever they pleased. So where did these daughters of men come from? If Adam and Eve only had Cain and Abel, Cain kills Abel, there's no mention of any other daughters, etc. Until Cain leaves, and then Adam and Eve get together again, in union, and she gets pregnant and she has a son called Seth, which means she called Seth or Seth because he was the replacement given to her from God because Cain killed Abel, the other son, right? Then who are these? If there's only those 3 or 4, right, then where did the rest come from? Where did these women come from? Because this is all a holy line, isn't it? It's all a holy line, right up to Noah. It's a holy line of Seth. They're of God, the children of God, up until this stage. The sons of God, or these children of God, from chapter 5, Seth's descendants, and their descendants, and their descendants, saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, And so they picked for themselves women whomever they pleased. They basically left their rightful place in the presence of God and chased these women. Who were these women? These daughters of men. They were the children of the first pre-Adamics, who were told by God, yeah, go forth and multiply, increase. And so wherever they went, because they completely forgot about through Genesis 2 to 5,